Did you ever wonder what's behind the sign? I'm Jess Davis with the Ulster County Regional Chamber of Commerce, and I want to welcome you to another episode of Our Town. Today we're in the Hamlet of Walkill at Fair-Rite. Fair-Rite Products is a leading manufacturer of ferrites. Ferrites, in case you didn't know, are a ceramic-like material that contain magnetic properties, and they're used in all kinds of electronic devices that we use every day. On this visit, we get the chance to learn about the products, the process, and the people behind Fair-Rite Products.
Ferrite goes in, transformers and inductors. It's pretty much in anything electronic, you potentially could see ferrite in. An automobile, tire pressure monitoring. It'll basically send a signal from your tire. Big one, from a safety standpoint, an automobile is in an airbag application.
Simple, right? It's like a gray piece of ceramic, and you're like, how hard can it be? But there's so much that goes into it. I have about 15 different materials, and it just keeps growing.
There's a whole science to make it. In the end, you get a ceramic, soft ferrite material, but there's a lot to it, from the raw materials to making the powder, and then the multiple processes to actually make the ferrite, from pressing to sintering, and then multiple finishing operations to assembly of some of the assembly parts. The most important thing is the formulation of the powder, to make sure the composition, because that's what's going to dictate the electrical properties of the material. The material flows in the press, it flows into the die. So the physical properties are very important, the formulation is very important. You can't press a good part, it all starts with a pressed part. Then, you're not going to have a good part structurally, maybe there's cracking or distortion, and also, dimensionally. The part's going to shrink somewhere between 10 and 20%, let's say, but some materials shrink almost by about 50% by volume. So you can imagine if you have some tight dimensional tolerance requirements, and you really need to control your process, because when you're shrinking 50% by volume, that's a lot. So this is the part that's been compacted out of powder. It takes about, in this particular example, about 21 tons of force to compact this from powder into what we call a green core. And then once this goes through the kiln and gets sintered, it becomes a ceramic material. In this case, there's probably about a 15% shrink in dimension. One is a tunnel style kiln like this, and basically this kiln will push that, I think in this case the current cycle we're on every 25 minutes. So it'll push one of these plates every 25 minutes. It's going to push.
It's kind of just small CMM here, and we do X, Y, and Z measurements, so you can put in any part and it'll take it 2D or 3D dimensional. Take cracks as well. You can take screenshots of it, use it in production.
So this is our grinding operation. So after the parts are centered, there's various finishing operations we do. In this case, we're grinding the surface on the parts flat, because these cores are actually going to be mated together, and basically it goes over a cable for EMI type application. And it's important to get a very flat finish on there, so effectively we're minimizing the gap between the cores to essentially nothing, and that's critical for the electrical characteristics of the core.
A few things.
Yes, I'm like,
Ferrite.
I'm always amazed going out to the different businesses that are here in our community and learning the things that you do that are so much bigger than our community, right?
Yeah, it's amazing. We're in a small hamlet, tucked in the back. No one really knows that we're here. And I think even John said, I drove by this, every day,
right,
and I didn't even know it was here. So that we get that a lot.
Talk about the family history with Fair-Rite.
Okay,
this is
sure.
a family business. So can you tell us more about it? I see the history, which is just incredible, dating back to the early 1900s.
Born in 1926. He was recruited almost by a Fair-Rite, as I understand it, like a Fair-Rite sales firm, and they and then he ended up getting approached by a couple other gentlemen, and they started Fair-Rite back in 1952. In the meantime, my mom started working. She was a double E, which is very rare in the early 70s, that she decided to go and become an electrical engineer. So, and she started working here, I believe in 1974, kind of mid 1970s. She actually got laid off, which she will never forget. But then she got rehired a couple years later, and then kind of the rest is history. They met at a dinner dance, like a Fair-Rite dinner dance, and then finally my mom lured me back in 2014. So, and it's been great. I mean, my dad had passed away in 2016, so I had a couple of years home with him still here, and kind of learning from him and understanding that culture from him, and then understanding it from my mom, because we are a family-owned business. So it's not like we have shareholders that we have to, or the stock exchange that we have to answer to. We can really make decisions for the long term, and we can make decisions in the best interest of our employees. But what we lack in size, we make up in kind of our integrity, and that's the culture. It's always, you got to do the right thing for your employees and for your customers. And yeah, it may be painful, but that's, your integrity is what's going to keep you in business. 120 and 125 work in Walkill, and like I said, we have a facility in Flat Rock, Illinois, and we do have a couple of factories in China. It's amazing that kind of a global company exists right in this small town.
Right.
You know, we do business in all over the world. Fair-Rite is in every piece of electronics.
So she's been behind the scenes for most of our visit today, but she was a big part of scheduling this whole tour. We're with Bridget.
What we have here is an engineering kit. So what we do, we provide these kits to engineers throughout the country and world with a sampling of our products. You will find 4 different materials that have all different samplings and sizes of our products inside them. So we make sure we provide these to design engineers and other labs across the country and world, because they do a lot of the intro phases of these products that we use every day. So if we get built into them, then we get to be in everything. What sets us apart from our competitors is that we're focused on Fair-Rite, where they have a bunch of different products. So we could walk you from start of your project to finish of your project. And we have the technical engineers that are available to walk you through that project.
I love that you have this timeline, and when I think about the Parker family, I think about there's a Parker product probably being used by me right now, by our viewers right now, by our videographer. And so whether you're out driving a vehicle, or you're using a fitness tracker app or a smart device, you're a part of that. The Fair-Rite is a part of that. And that is really, really special to think about, that those products are all over this world, and they come from right here in this beautiful little hamlet of Walkill.